8 o'clock that night, my cell phone rang. Hello?
Hi, this is from the health center. Am I speaking with Mr. Yang?
Yeah?
We have received a blood test from earlier today. I need to warn you that you are in a very serious condition right now. The blood report shows that you have a blood platelet of 23,000 per liter of blood. The normal range for this number is 137,000 to 383,000. Anything below 137 would be considered as in danger. And anything below 50 should be considered life-threatening.
Stunned, my brain was empty. I didn't know what to think. The numbers were clear and made a huge emotional impact. I was, at this moment, not even half of the life-threatening level.
This is obviously a very critical situation. Are you bleeding anywhere at the moment? Do you feel pain anywhere? Dizziness, nausea, fatigue?
I didn't know how to react. I had to retrace what I heard to be able to answer the question. Nothing like that.
Okay, we do have an appointment scheduled for you tomorrow morning at 11:20 a.m. to check and see if your condition worsens. Make sure not to have any physical activity at all tonight, because you're in danger right now. If you start bleeding anywhere at all, even from a paper cut, you need to call us, or 911 for medical attention.
Sure, I said half-heartedly. Thoughts raced in the background of my mind. Half an hour passed as I sat motionless in front of my desk. How did this happen? What did I do wrong? What will happen because of this? Is something bad going to happen to me? Why don't I feel sick at all? Am I going to die? It could be genetics. The fact was, this illness was odd. I would not feel anything different than before. However, I noticed a pimple on my face again. It really wasn't just a pimple. I turned my head to look in the mirror. The spot on my face was bleeding still, since days ago, constantly, and the skin under it looked pitch black. This was probably a sign of low platelet count. I really should have paid more attention. Suddenly, a sense of depression fell upon me. I felt so powerless and so meaningless. It all happened so fast. Just yesterday, I was playing frisbee with friends out on the field. I was confused, unable to really accept reality. I took the least amount of physical movement possible that night, knowing that I may bleed elsewhere just as easily. I had a simple dinner and went to bed early, keeping in mind that I had to go back to the medical center tomorrow morning. That night, I slept like a log. The alarm clock called for me 3 hours before my appointment. Punctuality had been one of my strengths, whether for friends, family, or personal reasons. Me too! I once had an argument with Brian because I planned to leave for class 15 minutes earlier than he did. I guess being too early might mean that I was not punctual after all. I turned on my laptop and opened a packet of cereal, mixed it with milk, and gobbled it down while watching some Japanese anime show. Over the years, I developed the habit of eating while watching something, mostly TV shows. My mom told me that it was a bad habit, and it would waste me more time eating than if I ate normally. I kind of agreed, yet I kept doing it. I felt that this way, I would not be wasting time eating. With a click of a mouse, I started recording myself in front of the computer. Since college started, I had been keeping a video journal, much like people on YouTube about my daily life. Oh, a vlog! I kept them private though, The vlogs were meant to record just how I grew and changed under such a different environment. First time away from home. I never knew at the time just how valuable these short clips would become in my life. Today is October 31st, Friday, and it's Halloween, and I'm kind of dying. 2 days ago, I had a nosebleed for 14 hours, from 1 a.m. to 3 p.m. I went to the health center and they stopped it. They did a blood test and apparently, I have extremely low platelets in my blood, which means if I get a cut right now, it will not heal, and I'll probably bleed to death. Any kind of small cut. What about a haircut? This morning I have an appointment at 11:20. Right now it's 11:06. I'm going to go see my doctor right now. Just checking in to see how I'm doing. It's not that good. That's about it. See you later. The hallway was filled with Halloween decorations and costume. Fake spider webs, ugly face paint, annoying pumpkins, and scarecrows. I like pumpkins. Straws from the scarecrows were scattered all over the floor. I hated Halloween. It had been an aroma of negativity for me annually. I had a tradition of ending up at the hospital on this day every year. In 7th grade, I was in the hospital for severe pneumonia on Halloween. In 8th grade, I broke my left wrist on Halloween, wore a cast for 4 months. As time went on, the list went on. Another addition to that list today. The health center was filled with worthless Halloween decorations as well. The employees had made their point that no one aimed to work today. Greeted by the bumblebee receptionist, I was directed to another blood draw. Great. I called my mom while waiting for the doctor. I spoke Chinese like we did at home. I told her about my 23,000 platelet level, and she told me it had bleeding issues growing up as well, something I never knew. She also insisted on coming over from Colorado, along with my dad, and visiting me to make sure I was fine. Aw, that's nice. The nurse called for me to go inside. I hurried in after saying bye to my mom. I met with a different doctor. A large man in a shiny fairy costume, with what I hoped were fake breasts. With rainbow glitter and a golden crown, he was quite a traumatizing sight to witness. I don't know, he sounds really pretty. Oh, don't mind me, I'm just a Halloween fairy. The office wanted to do a fairy-themed Halloween this year. But you have the boobs. I see. Yesterday afternoon, you came in due to a bleeding nose, which lasted 14 hours. Am I correct? Yeah. Did you have any other symptoms of bleeding since then? Over the night or this morning? No, I didn't. Alright, well yesterday you were at 23,000 platelets. Today you're at 20,000! He pulled out the paper and glanced at it. That shows clear indication of dropping, which isn't good. I'm going to write your files up and you should get someone to drive you to a hospital. Once you get there, go to the emergency room and hand them this file. They'll take care of everything for you. His words scared me. I had no idea how to react. A sinking feeling of despair hit. I'm getting worse? I have to go to the hospital? Emergency too. What about my test, schoolwork, education in general? I have to go today? He looked at me confused. Now, actually. Right now. I have a test coming up. I was actually planning to do some studying. The doctor laughed really hard and replied, Believe me, school tests are the least of your concerns right now. Besides, it's excusable, you're dying. I paused a little. With an envelope of information, I stepped out and called my only friend with a card. Thaddeus. Or Thaddeus. What is up with these names? He helped me and my friends by driving us to the local Walmart from time to time. He was deeply religious, and I really appreciated his presence on my dorm floor. I called him and he picked up.
Hey Z, how's it going?
Hey, Thaddeus, I said weakly. I might need your help.
What's up?
Have you heard about my recent sickness?
Yeah, Hank told me. He pretty much told everyone by now, I think. How are you feeling? You okay?
Apparently I'm dying. I'm at the medical center right now, and the doctor told me I need to go to the hospital and the emergency room.
That's really bad. Are you okay right now? Do you need me to give you a ride?
Yeah, that's why I'm calling. I kind of need a ride, and you're the only person I know who has a car.
No problem, I'll come over in a few minutes. Need anything else? I can bring you some stuff if you need it.
Aw, you have such nice friends. Nah, it's alright. Thank you, I really appreciate this.
No problem at all. I'll be there in a few minutes. Sit tight.
I was naturally polite to Thaddeus. Thad. Because he was polite in general. I felt that his politeness pushed people away, alienating himself from others. Maybe I was wrong. Perhaps I felt that way because I was usually mean and insensitive. Someone with obnoxious or insolent humor around my friends. Maybe that was why Thaddeus and I never became the best of friends. We had different views on how to live life and how to treat people. I always had a feeling that people who are polite were just pretending to be nice, and that in secret, all people are evil and selfish in nature. Just like the Bible said, we were all born sinners. Jeez Louise, you're quite the pessimist. I guess it's understandable though, I assume everyone's a dick, until I get to know them. Thaddeus arrived promptly, along with Hank and Brian. Hey guys, Thaddeus. Thank you so much for this, I really appreciate it, I said as I entered the car. My friends greeted me with warmth. No problem. How are you feeling? Hank asked hastily. I'm, not really alright, I don't think. Can't really say, I'm not too sure about what's going on. You need to be careful, are you alright? Do you feel okay? I feel okay, I was mostly scared and overwhelmed. I was glad that Thaddeus knew the exact location of the hospital. I had always been poor in my directional sense. Whenever I went anywhere, I always made sure I brought a friend. If I didn't, I would be lost no matter how familiar I was with the area. My dependence on others had always been a hindrance in life. Whether they were my parents or friends, I never understood how people started their own business in high school, or how people traveled the world by themselves as kids. I guess I never took charge of and never had real direction in life. I chose conformity and anonymity throughout my teenage years and never questioned that choice. Oh, I don't blame you, I did as well. I think it's just a culture. We're raised differently than, Western culture anyway. Rushed into the emergency room, I handed the nurse my large envelope of documents and was told to wait. I was pleasantly surprised when the nurse called me minutes later, only soon to be unpleasantly surprised when a large group of doctors and nurses started observing me. Doctors and nurses alike hurried left and right around me. Before I realized it, the room was packed, with lab coats all eyes on me. Mr. Yang, an old, bald doctor, initialized the conversation, staring intensely at the papers in his hands, most likely the papers in the envelope. Yes? We must proceed to examine your condition immediately. You are currently in critical danger. Yeah, the platelets decreased. Is it lower now? Yes. He paused for a second. Excuse me, did you say by 3,000, yeah? Oh no, I'm sorry. You've been mistaken. Yesterday you were at 23,000 platelet count, am I correct? Yeah? Right now you are at 2,000 total. See this number here? That's in thousands. He pointed to a number on the paper. It said 2. Next to the normal range, 137 to 384. Did the doctor at the health center say it was 20,000? Yeah. Wait, so it's only 2,000? Right now? Total? Yes, sir. This is the number from yesterday. He pointed to another number on a different sheet of paper, 23. Your platelets have dropped 21,000 within half a day's time. Having 2,000 platelets is extremely dangerous, and we must place you under care. For comfort and reassurance, I looked over at my friends, and they had their eyes wide open. I wasn't able to comprehend what happened just yet. They put me in a wheelchair, and I was rolled into an exam room as a group of lab coats followed. All of them had notebooks open and pen in hand, taking notes as they walked. They never stopped staring at me. They were probably PhD students. This is a severe case of ITP, which stands for idiopathic thrombocytopenic purpura, or whatever. The cause of the illness is usually unknown, but most likely due to an immune system malfunction. Some symptoms include large spontaneous bruises all over the body. Check. I had around 11, each one larger than my palm. Again, probably another signal that I should have paid attention to. That is quite a big signal. Large clusters of red dots on the body, seemingly like a rash, but if you press on it, they stay red. Check. The rash on my arm from a week ago. Definitely not due to dry weather. Muscle ache or other internal organs not healing. Check. My muscles have been aching incrementally ever since I worked out a week ago. I could barely get out of my bed sometimes due to the pain. How was it that I never made a connection? Have you recently had any colds or flu? I had a cold a couple weeks ago. That may have been the cause, for instance. What about any family history of illness? HIV or HIV-related illness? Not that I know of. My mom used to have extended nosebleeds when she was young, and so do I. What's the frequency of your nosebleeds, and how long do they last? The students stared at me with their notebooks in hand, as if I was able to share with them the answers on their upcoming test. About once a week on average as I was growing up, and they're usually around half an hour or longer. They look down and jot down the answer, awaiting response from the leading physician. That is way too frequent. From the time you've given, it would support the fact that you might have had ITP all your life, which would make the case chronic. Did you know nosebleeds should not last longer than 15 minutes? Yes, I know, you told me 3 times. I'm well aware. Tell me the medical history of your family. My parents. Before I finished, I felt something way too familiar. Again. My nose spontaneously burst with blood, splattering everywhere. The nurses and students were amazed and whispered amongst themselves upon the sight. The doctors took steps back to avoid the blood splatter, and then a couple of nurses rushed in with a plastic clamp for my nose to prevent further bleeding. Without any time for me to respond, they already started rolling my bed out the door. We're going to have to take an ultrasound and a CT scan to see in detail if there is any bleeding inside your body. The doctor stated, more as a command than a suggestion. Hold on, I held out my hand to pause them. Hank, here, take my cell phone. I shoved my cell phone into Hank's hand. Call my mom and tell her what's going on. Immediately afterwards, I was rolled outside the door. The tests were painful. I was unsure at that point as to why. Perhaps a combination of my aching and my emotional hopelessness. Slowly, while lying on the machine, life started to fade away. My stomach repulsed, my head muffled. The world darkened and then faded out of view. It was cold. I was freezing and knee-deep in the snow. The snow reminded me of my hometown in Harbin during the coldest days of the year. Snow was pouring down densely, making it hard to see, but the air was calm. There was no wind. The sky was dark and gray. It was hard to see with snow. I was rolling my father, who for some reason was in a wheelchair, towards a small wooden cabin around 80 yards away. The cabin looked lifeless and dead. I frequently had dreams about my father being in a wheelchair, even though in terms of physique, he was probably healthier than me, so this was not surprising. As I approached the cabin, I saw figures moving inside it. From their movements, I could tell they were my potential grandparents with excitement. I rushed in with my father. Inside was cold, dark, and gloomy, with odd colored lighting. I ran up to them and hugged them, crying about how much I missed them. I hadn't seen my grandparents for many years. I knew my grandfather had lung cancer, so we couldn't talk over the phone. Both my father and I cried with them. Their bodies felt cold. My grandma asked if I was doing well, and said that as long as I was happy, life was worth living. I told her that I was doing fine and that I was very happy. My grandpa did not speak. He only smiled, the same kind and gentle smile he displays every time we meet. My grandma stopped talking shortly after and sat there, also smiling.